Hello, welcome to the pod with Garrett and this is where I interview local entrepreneurs and solopreneurs ranging from business founders and entrepreneurs to creatives and artists to peel back the curtain on their success and their stories so that hopefully we can extract some tools, tips, and tactics that they use to become successful. And through that, I hope to inspire you, the audience, as well as hopefully give you some tangible things you can apply to your personal or professional life so that you can grow and live the life of your dreams. Today, I'm excited to speak with Aaron Pearson, the founder and managing director of BitBranding, a digital marketing agency exclusively working with clothing brands to propel their growth online. Aaron also hosts a podcast called The Optimized Store Owner, where he interviews e-commerce leaders to reveal their strategies, growth hacks, proven marketing advice, and share their inspirational stories. So today we're going to deep dive into all things e-commerce, marketing, and branding. Aaron, it's great to have you here.
My pleasure, man. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. So exclusively working with clothing brands, how did you arrive at that?
By happenstance. I guess it was happenstance, but also inevitable. So our very first client was my 8th grade English teacher. I was down in Texas, and then she was up in Kansas. So she owned a boutique, asked for some marketing help, kind of heard through the grapevine we were doing some marketing. So we did that, and that was 2015 or so. And then for a long period of time, we just worked for every business you could possibly think of, right? Plumbers and roofers and dentists and some e-commerce and whatever. So, but what happened was we wanted to be number one in something, but also something we actually enjoyed and we can succeed at and like excel at. And so it was like, what was it? December of 2020, the world was kind of shut down a little bit. We were in Estes Park doing a retreat, which I highly suggest for anybody is just to do a retreat, kind of pull yourself back every quarter and plan. We just got out a little white piece of paper and just started drawing. I was like, okay, what are we going to do and how are we going to serve these people? And it's like, what do we actually enjoy? What are we good at? And then what can kind of also empower our team to feel like they're good at something too? What can we eventually be great at? And so we cut out the service side of our business and basically fired and got rid of over the next 6 months all of the clients that were not in the e-commerce space. But it wasn't until June of 21 where we said, okay, let's get rid of everybody except for the people we like the most, and that is like the clothing brands. And so we said,
and by getting rid of people, these are clients you're talking about.
Yeah,
these are
not,
clients,
not customers. Yeah, or not our employees. Absolutely no. Good point. No, we didn't get rid of any employees by any means. But we said, what can we be number one in the world at? And that's really what kind of propelled us forward as like, okay, we serve these people, we do well, we can prove results. It's all like instant as far as like sales that day, if we're growing or not, and we can have a real impact in growing businesses. And so that's when we decided let's go all in on the clothing space. And so for that, it's, I guess, 21, now we're 24. It's almost going on 3 years at this point of just like only in the clothing space, trying to be number one in the world at it.
That's great. And I think there's so much we can dive into there and how you arrived at that. And so you've been in business for how long? And then you said the last 3 years has been specifically for clothing brands?
Yeah. I guess technically we started late 2014, 2015, incorporated 2016. So anywhere eight-ish years, I guess.
Okay. So you had about 4 or 5 years where you were kind of using or working with many different clients, and then you realized how you needed to focus to become the best in one thing. And how has that helped your team focus on execution, on strategy, and developing value for your clients?
I think the biggest thing is it's confidence, right? It's one of those things where people want to get confidence before they actually make something happen, but you get confidence by doing the actual thing. But when you do the same thing over and over again, it's kind of like it's a virtuous cycle where they felt empowered because they're like, wait, we did this for the other client. We can copy and paste. Like we can do this again. And then if we can do that again, we can get better. And so we were able to go really deep instead of wide. And so I think it empowered them to know that they are not only working to be the best at something, but they truly are good. And I think that's empowering for them.
I think that's spot on. And a podcaster I follow is Alex Hermosi, and all of his information, and similar thing where he and his wife Layla, they focus on the brick and mortar businesses and sales, and therefore they would work with similar clients. So therefore their strategies, they would implement the same strategies, execute, and keep building upon it. And it seems that you've also tapped into that, and it's really helped.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I wish I would have done it years before that, but yeah, trying to get better now.
Great. And then for the audience, can you give an overview of what BitBranding is and how you help these clients?
Yeah. It's a good question to ask yourself, I guess, kind of every day as it kind of molds and changes. But I would say there's two components to the business. So the first one is probably one more people are familiar with, which is that we do the hands-on marketing through like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Google ads. And then we also help with content creation and email marketing, SMS marketing, and website design. So we basically have developed like 5 pillars or the foundations of business for a clothing brand to grow successfully. And so we put hands to keyboard and we manage those services and work alongside clients to do that. And so I think that's probably the easiest way to explain what we do on one half of the business. The other half of the business is a program that we built. Actually sold it in the late 2021 before it was ever even built, just to be like, is somebody actually like wanting this? And now it is our biggest area of, I would say, focus and our biggest area of how we serve people. But this program is called the Optimized Store Owner Program, and it is more of a done with you situation. So a lot of people can't afford the agency services, but they also are way past the information gathering stage of just watching on YouTube. So we give them access to our course. They have a live chat. We meet with them one-on-one. We have a weekly Q&A. They have community. And so we combine that all together and just made an actual program to get them to their first 7-figure year. And so that program is a big focus of ours. And so it's basically everything we do in the agency side, except for we teach and help, but we don't put hands on. And so those are roughly what we do for businesses and the 2 ways we serve them.
And for those clients in the optimized store approach, what stage of the business do they come to you at?
All different stages, but most of them are like early. At this point, I was talking to one of our CSM, Robin, this morning about just serving these people because they want to serve so many, our clients want to serve so many people. They're like, I want to sell clothes to this person and guys and girls and teenagers and 50-year-olds and Americana content. And then it's like, it's just all over the place. So they are mostly in the early stages. They're usually less than, if they do, it's usually less than $1 million in revenue. So anywhere from literally zero to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month or so is kind of like that sweet spot for the program.
Makes sense. And so with a client that wants to serve everyone, has this grand vision, what questions do you ask them to help them kind of refocus their efforts so they can become most successful?
It's a matter of, there's like a framework of who is your actual customer. And so you just ask them who's their customer, and then they'll tell you they either A, don't know, or B, it's all of the above. And then, okay, great, so that's fine. But there's 3 things that have to happen when a clothing brand is selling something, or any business, right? Which is that there's a problem. Businesses only exist to solve problems. So what is the problem that you're solving? And they're like, well, I'm selling clothes. It's not really a problem. It's like, well, it is. Like, for example, this is George Janko. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but podcaster, definitely recommend him. But anyway, so he has this apparel brand that he's trying to get his word out. And it's like, so what's his problem? Well, his problem is that there's a message for a very specific demographic that he's focused on that is unheard. And so he's trying to help them be heard. So it's like, you have a problem, and then your clothing brand is the unique solution. How are you providing a unique solution? If it's an apparel brand, it's like, look, all of this stuff from Lululemon doesn't fit right. Or like guys with long arms can't fit into certain things. Like, what's your unique solution? And then what's life afterwards? And then what really happens is that 99.99% of the time, the customer is themselves. Meaning they built this brand not just to make money, but because they're scratching their own itch. And then when they look at themselves in the mirror, they're like, wait, I'm 25, I'm a guy, this is who I serve. It's like, you know that person best, so that's your ideal customer, right? You're serving people like you. And so those kind of questions and that kind of framework, I think, really helps them to understand where they are, and then helps them feel like it's actually easier to market for their brand than what they thought.
I love that. And so to kind of double tap into that, the third part was the future vision. Can you elaborate about that?
Yeah, it's called like a future pace hero. So like, what is life like after this? Because you're always looking at, if you look at anything on fitness, it's like this person lost 10 pounds and now they have 6-pack abs. So it's like before they were overweight and they didn't do anything and now they're super healthy. But the same thing for the clothes is like, what was your life like before? And then what is your life like afterwards? And the better you can paint that picture and the shorter the time frame that you can help them paint that picture, the more likely they are to gravitate and actually buy clothes. And people are like, you're overcomplicating selling clothes. And it's like, no, it's not really. It's like, you really do have to solve this problem, because even if you're selling Gucci, what's their problem? They believe that they have a higher status amongst friends. They want people to know that they shop at a certain area. You're solving a problem. This helps give them status, which makes them feel good about themselves, which gives them an identity that they feel proud of.
It's all psychological. I mean, you're just tapping into the innate human emotions, and that's what it is. And I've mentioned it before, but the Building the Story brand by Donald Miller, great book, and talks about, the arc of a storyline and solving problems and solutions and seeing that future version of yourself. And that's what propels you to achieve that. So to recap, there's 3. Can you explain the 3 again quickly so people can remember?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is like starting from like if it's a far left to far right diagram here, it's like on the far left, you have the problem. What is that problem? Which, to your point of Donald Miller's, right? Like, there's no good story starts without a problem, right? So what is the problem that you're trying to solve? And then the middle part is the solution, your unique solution. How are you uniquely able to serve the market? And we actually created a spreadsheet that like helps us figure out for people, because a lot of people start a brand and it copies somebody else, and it's like, what's unique about you? And they don't know. So then they have to go back to the drawing board. So what is the problem you're solving? What's the unique solution that you offer? And then what is life like afterwards? What is that future pace here? What is that person like once they go through or purchase, in our example, once they purchase your clothes and receive it? What is their life like afterwards?
That's brilliant. 3 quick steps to really help you reframe your value proposition and how you can help serve others and where you place yourself in the market. So you talked a little bit about this educational component where you kind of teach people how to fish so they can catch their own fish and provide for their own dinner, basically. And can you provide an example of a success story that you've seen with a client?
Yeah, one that comes to mind is, and I think the most fun I get out of this is just seeing people kind of fulfill their dreams. So there was a guy out of San Diego, ironically, because we were just talking about San Diego before we started recording. He's out of San Diego. He's got 3 kids. He's married. He's working full time. Very successful guy. He's an entrepreneur-ish. I would say yes, he is an entrepreneur. But he's always wanted to start a clothing brand. And so he was like, you know what? I'm 40. I think he was, I don't know what to mess with the age. It was like maybe 45 or something. He's like, if I don't do it now, I'm just not going to do it. So January of 2023, he joined the program. He started going through it. He had a little bit of success. The brand is an Americana type of brand, like grit. If you think of like the Punisher meets like George Washington meets like a Joe Rogan, it's kind of an esque of that. And so really cool t-shirts, and he wasn't getting much traction. The first couple of months he made like a couple $1,000. April he made absolutely nothing because his kids were in sports, finishing up school stuff, and so he didn't do much. And then in May, what we realized is like, look, this brand is built for these types of holidays and these types of messaging, right? So we headed into Memorial Day, and we just said, let's create an amazing offer for these types of people, because we know our customer now. We've figured out this is who we're going after. Really kind of narrowed that down. So we're going after an amazing audience that we know well. We can speak to them. We have great apparel. And then we're going to give a great deal, a great offer. I think for anything, right, you can have a really crappy product, but if you have a great offer, some people are going to take it up for you, right? Even if I have a backpack over here and you're like, look, that backpack looks okay, but I wouldn't pay $20 for it. I'm like, look, dude, I'll give it to you for 99 cents. You're like, okay, I mean, I guess I could use a backpack maybe. So we made that offer, and we made like $2,000 in like 2 months, or 2 weeks. And so we ended that, and we just left the same offer going on because it was more patriotic themed than it was Memorial Day. Because we didn't want to take advantage of like Memorial Day, it's more about Memorial. And so we didn't want to do that, but we just wanted to run an offer. And so we ran it from Memorial Day through 4th of July, through Labor Day. And so for months, we're able to run an ad and we're able to scale it up. So for May, we went from $2,000 a month. June, we hit 20. July, we hit 95, which I remember very specifically because it was frustrating because we were so close to the 100K. August, we hit like 120. September, we hit 220. October, we were close to like 250, 275. November, we closed out at like 350. And then December, we closed out 550. So this is a brand, a guy didn't have anything. At first, it started as a print on demand, which means he held no inventory and another third-party service basically fulfilled. So we had no overhead other than the ads. And then in 6-7 months, turned this into a 7-figure plus business. And so that's an exciting one because of the revenue, and I think it motivates a lot of people. But to me, it's the exciting part of it because he literally put it off for so long and then helped fulfill a dream. So that's the exciting piece for me is like people saying like, I can actually do this. I've made my money where this job or this career, this entrepreneurial life can actually support me.
And like you said, they're solving their own problem and they've probably been thinking about this for years, or in this gentleman's case, probably decades. And then to see it come to fruition is, like you said, quite fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you say are the top 3 characteristics of successful clients?
Just most of the time I'm facetious, but I would just say bullheaded. Now, I think more than anything, longevity is a focus, meaning like you have a long enough time horizon. If you think about it in the sense that I want to be successful in the next 10 years, I think Noah Kagan told me this, or he didn't tell me. See, that's how close we were. So I watched a video from Noah Kagan, who owns AppSumo. They do like $100 million a year. So pretty cool to kind of see that come up. And he was like number 30 at Facebook. So it's cool to hear the behind the scenes. But what he said was like, I'm just looking at this as decades, right? In 10 years, if I can be successful, and I define my success in 10 years, then I'll beat everybody else. And so that's kind of like at that point, it was very early on when I heard that. So I said, okay, that's the way we're going to look at it 10 years from now. In 10 years, we'll be an overnight success. And so I think one thing is longevity and being very disciplined, and just doing things that are actually outside of business that help keep you sharp with being disciplined. For example, I'm a big proponent of reading and journaling and working out. Like those things, I don't think anybody just wakes up and says, I want to do this, right? It's more of a embrace the suck and doing the hard things and getting in the discomfort zone and doing that over a long period of time is really, really powerful. So I think that's one. The second thing I would say is that like dominate a market. Nobody, like I don't know a percentage, so I just kind of bear with me here, but like 97, 98% of the market goes to the number one spot. And then the other 2 or 3% gets distributed between the other 10. So if you can be number one in a space, in a niche, you can expand afterwards. And so by doing that, I think that also allows you to basically not be as good over a lot of areas, but it allows you to be able to dominate a certain market, and you get to learn and be the best at something, and that will allow you to stay longer. And the third one is I think really the biggest one is picking good relationships to be around. If you have a spouse or a girlfriend or wife or husband or whatever who's not supportive of you, that will deteriorate. If you have friends who are only focused on drinking or drugs or habits that are not in alignment with your brand, in your vision and where you're going, they'll bring you down as well. So choosing the right friends and shedding old relationships is extremely powerful.
Those are 3 top qualities. So longevity, staying disciplined through activities beyond your business, and then 3, your community that you surround yourself with and those who are closest to you. Mm-hmm. There it is. For the long-term horizon, what is a short-term goal you didn't chase because it would have been at the detriment to a longer-term goal?
That's a good one. I think monetizing our content too early. So we did education from literally the day one. Like most people will never remember there's a software company out there called Blab where people would basically go on and live stream and just chat. And we would go on there religiously Monday through Friday. We called it On Fridays, we did what's called Brain 10, where we would brainstorm 10 ideas every single week. Most of them absolutely sucked. But it was about creating an idea machine. And so I think to answer your question more specifically, I think that if we would have monetized trying to make money off of our content in the beginning, instead of focusing on getting really good at our craft and adding value to people, then we would have fallen a lot shorter, or we would have hopefully hit our head against the wall and backtracked a little bit. But I think that's one thing that we've done really well. And I think a lot of it probably was ignorance, is just who can add and how can we add the most value to the world. And then we've just slowly gotten better over time.
Get 1% better every day. It compounds. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned how YouTube is kind of where you're putting more focus in terms of the content creation game. Can you talk a little bit more about that and your strategies towards, finding an audience and providing value there?
Yeah, I think it's so we've always had a YouTube channel. We didn't say it was until 2020 where we decided to put a little bit more effort. We finally became monetized. So it took us 4 years to monetize, and then after that we grew a little bit faster. But we didn't know what YouTube was, the possibility. I actually credit a lot of this to one of our old YouTube and video editing employees, Jack, where he's like, I just want to buy snacks each month from our YouTube revenue. I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. Like, that's hundreds of dollars a month. I don't think we're going to be able to make that. And then we monetized in May, and then we quickly saw in June that was more than a possibility, and it's added significance to the business. But I think focusing on the areas that we have done has allowed a group of people to find us online because they're looking for that content, and it's been a great lead generation vehicle for us, for our program, and for our customers as well. But I highly suggest for people that if they can make YouTube work, that is the best social media platform to build an actual business, because you not only get paid from YouTube, you get paid from sponsorships, you get paid from clients, you also get paid from people who are, whether it's a Patreon or something like that, but you also have a level of authority. People who are on those things, just like a podcast or anything else, right? There's just, once there's a microphone or a camera in front of your face, it is, there's a certain level of authority. And even on YouTube, I think that adds a ton of value to people whenever they're into making a decision on who they're going to end up choosing to work with.
Speaking of content creation, have there been any surprising benefits or opportunities that you've gotten from content creation that you didn't expect?
I think, just in general, just relationships. We were early on with some software companies that were like, hey, we want to sponsor your YouTube channel. And we're like, okay, that sounds cool. Let's go and realize how we're going to negotiate these deals and whatever else. But just early access to things before they've blown up. It's like everybody wants to create the relationships with the bigger people now. Like you mentioned Alex Hormozy. But if we would have met Alex Hormozy in 2016, that would have been a better relationship to build than trying to figure out how to work with Alex Hormozy in 2024. And so I think for us, it was the early stage of brands coming up and helping recognize the real, recognizing a real of these guys are good and let's help each other, because I think entrepreneurship is an extremely lonely game if you don't have those outlets to create some kind of social atmosphere, because these conversations are seen on YouTube channels, but typically people at home washing their dishes or talking to their spouse, it's typically not going to be about these types of things. And so that's what I think has been valuable, is other people on the come up and what they have done in the early stages there that have helped us grow as well.
And speaking about that and recognizing real, another content strategy is kind of content pods, I think is what Matt Gray calls them, where, you and a couple others get together and help promote each other and kind of play the algorithm game a little bit to boost each other up, but also create that accountability, which is so important in something where you have to stay so consistent. I mean, you just mentioned 4 years in YouTube before you saw $1. Yeah. And so it's definitely a long game, and going back to your comment about the long horizons there.
Yeah.
And then one of the modules or lessons in the Optimized Store Owner is creating eye-catching content. Mm-hmm. Can you give the audience a sneak peek of what value you have there and kind of your feedback there?
Yeah, I think one of those things is like it's constantly changing of what works. But what we do know is that there needs to be some level of hook. And I think Seth Godin says it the best. So Seth Godin, I think, is kind of like the godfather of marketing. But he has a book that's probably one of my top 5 favorite books for marketing, which is called Purple Cow. And the analogy or the example that he gives was that, let's just say Garrett and I are driving down Highway 75 in Dallas, and we're heading north to McKinney because he's going to go eat downtown McKinney with me, which is where I live. And it's like, we can just walk there. But so anyway, on the right side of the road in Fairview, we see some cows going by, and we're like, oh, cool. And Garrett's like, well, I've seen a cow before, like, no big deal. And then we see another one, like, no big deal. But then we look over to the left, and Garrett's freaking out because he sees a purple cow. Okay? The purple cow is the perfect example of somebody who just keeps like going blind with like what's going on because everything stays the same. But when you see something that sticks out, you catch attention. And the first way that you can ever create a dollar or to create a lead or create a purchase, it's to catch attention. And so for social, it's constantly changing. But the first 3 seconds, that hook, it should absolutely catch that attention. But I would say that if it's on brand, do the abstract or do the out of the ordinary, because that is really what matters the most at that point, is catching that attention. We have a program member. He is really cool. It's probably one of the dopest like t-shirt brands that I have ever seen. He's a musician and he helps artists create their own merch, which is cool. But then you can actually play the music from the t-shirt. Like not like it goes from your phone. It's like an NFC type of thing where it's like connects it through your Bluetooth, but it's really, really cool. However, it's very hard to explain. So we can't ever just like, hey, buy this t-shirt because it does this, this, and this. But he has some stuff and it was like, look, this is about fire. Literally catch the stuff on fire and talk in the background. If somebody sees a video where somebody just literally starts it and just is next to some propane tanks and just saw something start to burn, then you have their attention enough. And now all you need to do is talk for a little bit to keep them entertained and educated for just a little bit longer, and then just a little bit longer. And so short form content and content creation in general is just about little micro hooks all throughout the content, which takes a lot of skill and takes a lot of time. And it's why very few people ever go viral, is because there is a formula. But I think my best piece of advice is that spend 95% of your time on those first 3 seconds, because the rest of it does not matter.
And the whole point of the hook is to kind of reiterate and get their attention so they can be drawn to you, learn a little bit more, maybe click on your profile page and see actually what you do.
Yep, exactly. Just the attention. That's all you need. Attention, you have a chance to win.
And so with hooks, is it about the thumbnail? It's about the 3 seconds. Obviously, it depends on the platform.
Yeah, it's about the thumbnail, but it's also the first 5 seconds. Really 3 seconds. But like for YouTube, for example, a lot of people focus on the thumbnail. And we were just talking, all right, I'm getting ready to release a YouTube video this morning. At this point, I guess it's already been released. But the thumbnail is important. It's actually the first 5 seconds. If it doesn't tell the story in about 5 seconds at that point, because on YouTube, it auto plays. So the thumbnail's there for a split second. So you really don't even have a chance to click if you're at the top. So if you're scrolling by and you just pause for a second and the thumbnail catches your attention enough to stop, you have to then think that the first 5 seconds is technically your thumbnail as well. So if it's not telling a story, they're going to scroll on by. Same thing for, I would say, Reels, right? The thumbnail matters a little bit, right? Same thing for TikTok, all of that. The thumbnail matters a little bit, but it's really the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video. 3 seconds, really, 5 seconds. If you can get somebody in the first 2 seconds and they stay till 5 and you can do it in that point, you bought yourself 5 seconds. And if you can get them to stay after 5 seconds, your chances of retention afterwards is much higher. It's just the 0 to 3 is very difficult because it can't be bland. It can't be. Now, famous people and whatever else, they change the norms. But all of us normal people, we need that. We need to make sure that that's huge.
Those are great points. Well, let's switch it up a little bit. You have a team behind you that helps you out and works with clients, and you have several different positions in there, such as a video production manager, email marketing partner, graphic designers, media buyer, to name a few. So you've obviously hired a bunch of people. You've probably fired a few. So what strategies do you have to hire great talent in this industry?
Man, I wish I knew the answer to that one. We're getting ready to do a final sales interview for somebody today. Sales, hiring does not get easier. And I've always heard like the hire slow, fire fast, right? You've heard that, but more recently I've heard the when you know kind of situation. So if that's the case, then hire fast as well. And so it's really trusting a gut instinct of like, excuse me, do they meet this matrix of like the needs that I have? Have they done what I need them to be able to do before, right? Or am I going to be training them and they're guessing in the beginning? Have they had success in that? Do they have a personality that meshes with our team? One of the things that we do is that on a second interview, we'll always do a mock of something. But the first part of that mock before that is to meet the whole team. I want you to have a good understanding of what it's going to look like to work with our team because we are a smaller team. And so if you don't mesh well with these people, life's way too short. Go work for somebody else. You can do other things. And so we always have at least 2, sometimes 3 interviews. Outside of that, we don't really do much more. We're not that big. We're not like big by any means, and it doesn't require that much more. We can really get deep on the first part of it. So I think that's the big piece. Make sure it meshes well with the team. Make sure that they've actually done what we need them to do and execute it at a high level. And hire somebody. If you can in the beginning, you really can't. But in the beginning, hire at the end, or as you become more established, hire people that are much better than you. Like, continue to find a way that you are the least valuable person in the room, and just I think I've heard of the analogy kind of like before. It's like a tent. You're just grabbing the middle of the tent and pulling it up, and you're just like, as the visionary, pulling the whole tent up, and everybody else is kind of in that tent as well. And so they're kind of following along. So you're just kind of like pulling it. And so then you become more of the leader there as well, which thank goodness I have a business partner who helps a lot with that too. Because I am very much the visionary of like, I want to do this, and then this is how I would do it and everything like that. And so it's a nice counterbalance. But
because he's the operations, he's the execution, helps kind of rally the troops to execute on the vision that you outlay and inspire with the team.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also, I would say, much more, I am getting better because I have 2 daughters now, but empathy was not my strong suit, right? I'm practicing the kind candor where, look, Garrett, if you're not doing a great job, you'd be like, okay, I'm just not going to tell him, but then all of a sudden I just like let him go. Like, I would never do that, but that's probably a better example of who I was versus now it's like, all right, Garrett, how can I coach you up to get better so that you know that like, hey, you're not hitting the mark, and I want to help you become a better person doing this because I believe in you as the person versus, hey man, we're best friends, and then it's like, yeah, the client say you're not hitting the mark and we're okay with it because then it leads to a level of like creep of, I would say they get like a level of animosity like, wait, you said we're good and then we're not. And so
and on that, sorry to interrupt, is also about setting the culture and the tone of the culture that it's okay to make mistakes, but at the same time, we're going to correct them, we're going to learn together, we're going to grow, and you provide that culture of improvement and constructive criticism so we can all accomplish our goals and help our clients the best way we can.
Yeah, that is what has made us better in the last couple of years, is because we have realized that. Before, I thought you just needed to work harder and just go and basically bulldoze through things. And I think there's a level of learning that's involved there, and I think there's some level of lessons and things that were positive from that. But overarching to build an actual team, it's there. And I think they say what is the phrase, like, business is really easy until people get involved. It is so true. But I think for our hiring path, it's not perfect. We have had people stay a long time, which is awesome. We've had people, I think our second employee technically is still there. We've had people coming up on 5 years and 6 years. And so it was really, really cool. The first couple of years, it was just Christian and I anyway. So we were just working out of one room and it was just us. So hiring people, difficult. Also, don't be afraid to hire a virtual assistant. I would highly suggest a virtual assistant, especially low overhead, most dedicated workers. Really get your feet wet with hiring people.
And yeah, no, that's a great point. So what roles have you hired virtually for?
I have I would say a general virtual assistant who does a lot of stuff, grabs numbers for us, like grabs data for spreadsheets, figures out things, kind of like does some research for us. We have one that is a graphic designer We also have one that is a video editor, and we have one that, just trying to think, like a social media manager. And so,
I mean, these are real roles, important team members to the team and the execution of your business.
oh, absolutely. Well, I think Prince has been with us since 2018, so a while.
Yeah, that's a long-standing employee right there, team member. And then to go back to kind of motivating through empathy, can you talk about some strategies you use or something that you have learned that's been super impactful? I know for myself, I'm a real estate developer, and part of it is leading a team of consultants, and you're always meeting deadlines and you need to push team members, but at the same time, there's a body of work to be done, and they are the expert in that work, and they know how long it's going to take. So it's a fine-tuned process of walking this tightrope of, motivating them and pushing for deadlines, but at the same time, having an understanding and being inspiring and showing them the larger vision.
Yeah. Man, I think it's more about being individual to the person, knowing what they need. Like, we have one employee who would rather not talk to somebody. They're more introverted. They definitely don't want the high fives. They don't want anything, but just meeting them where they're at. What do they like to talk about? What's interesting to them, and finding what things motivate them. And you do that with just sitting and spending time. A lot. What I was doing in the beginning was like, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and we'll talk, and because we're talking about work, but really just setting back and actually, let's carve out some time, even if it's 10 minutes, a couple times throughout the week, get to know that person, because if you let somebody else talk, they will tell you everything. And so when you do that, you can now use those things, I don't want to say maliciously, but you can use those things to help achieve company goals because you care about the person. And when they feel like you've actually bought in and care about them as a person, and you know their uniqueness and how they can help add value, and you give them that word, or you depending on which their love language is, if it's affirmations or a gift or just time, like, you can give those things to them and they will go to battle for you, right? Those are the people that are on the front lines, like, okay, we need to stay an extra hour, like, no problem. Like, I got this guy. And so I think that's something that I've learned and continue to try to get better at. It's definitely not anywhere where I'd like to be, but it's also just recognizing that every single person is an individual. And so if you think that quality time is something that everybody cares about, it's like they don't. Some people would love to just, hey, you did a great job, here's $25 gift card. Other people would be like, dude, heck yeah, like, let's, high five, scream, like, let's celebrate. Everybody should know. And then there's some level of recognition, like, Daniel did an amazing job. He helped the client, he saved the account, like, all of that. That will go forever. And so individualizing it, I think it helps a lot.
That's great feedback and great advice. And a tool that my company used when I was in the hiring process was the Predictive Index. And it's a super neat tool, and it's a pretty simple, not survey, but analysis. And I didn't think much of it, but basically they give you a list of words, and then you kind of choose the words that apply to yourself. And then it has all these sensors. It tracks your eyes. It tracks what words you clicked on and then unclicked and everything like that. And then it groups you into a personality type, as well as sees your alignment between what your kind of core values are and then your current job, and to see if you're in line, if your current role is in alignment with who you are deep down in terms of your values. And then you can kind of match it up and get feedback, and whether it's your love language type of feedback, but also create a role or adjust a role so it's more suited to their core values.
That is very cool.
The Predictive Index.
Yeah, we'll chat with you about that. That sounds really cool.
Most definitely, because and speaking of tools, and you're in the marketing world and e-commerce, which is evolving at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. What is one tool that you love to use where you see lots of growth or lots of impact with your clients?
I think the most basic one, as an example, and then I guess I can give specific to software, is just if you're going to sell e-commerce, I just hands down would do Shopify. Some people do Wix, some people do Squarespace. Excuse me.
No, you're good. Take your time. Edit it out.
I need to chug water. But a lot of people do Squarespace or Wix or WordPress or whatever. To give context, there's like 300,000 or 300, maybe it's like 300 million sites, maybe 400 million sites that are on WordPress, and there's like 2 million on Shopify. So
that's shocking to me.
It is. A lot more sites are less e-commerce, right? So they have and they've been in the game for a very long period of time. But Shopify is hands down, if you're going to start a business that's selling something online, I would highly suggest Shopify. And then I think the next one would be some kind of email, or like what we call it ESP, or email service provider. Most of the businesses that I talk to in the early stages are not collecting data. So email and phone number are extremely, extremely important. We suggest Klaviyo for e-commerce, but you can use anything. A lot of people know MailChimp or something like that. These are more basic, but they're the ones that, like, if you want to start a business, you got to have a website set up, and you have to have a way to communicate to those clients. If you do just those two things, right, you have a chance to be successful. All the fancy upsell or downsell or tracking software or messaging or chatbot stuff is really cool, but it's more tactical. It's not based off of real business principles, and you grow businesses based off of principles.
The fundamentals, you need to get the foundation laid before you can go vertical and build the house there and put on your fancy facade and the interior design there. Yes. And so how, in terms of, the businesses that have the fundamentals, and now you're talking about increasing conversion by 5 or 10%, or realizing that someone's left items in the cart that you want to figure out how to retrieve, and kind of the layout of a website and tracking, eye movement and stuff like that, and design. How do you stay on top of all of the AI tools that are out there, or do you kind of have your bread and butter tools and that's what you go to and suggest for your clients?
What's good now is that we have a team where one of the questions we do is we do a end of day report. And one of the things we always used to do, so we used to meet in the morning and in the evening. Now we just do a check-in every single day because we're a smaller team. Like, what's going on? How can we help? What's going on? And best way to serve somebody. But end of day, we say education. Like, what did you learn today? And a lot of times it's like, hey, this, for example, Facebook's growing faster than ever. We're at 3 billion monthly active users, like blah, blah, blah. Or like, hey, there's a new AI tool, or Midjourney just came out with a new update. Or, for example, ChatGPT, or OpenAI, rather, the company that owns ChatGPT, just released something that's insane, where Tyler Perry, actually, he was going to put like $200 million down on a production studio, and he stopped production because this AI, they described it and they said, all right, I want you to film a 35-year-old white male. I don't know if you saw that video or not, but like 35-year-old white male on Mars, like walking around. And it was like a 30-second clip of very cinematic. And it was like, the shots were amazing. It's scary, it's exciting. I teeter on the side of 51% scary, 49% exciting. But we have these types of things and conversations every single day. And so we got every single team member who's coming across things, because we have to stay up to date with it. We need to stay up to date with our education. We could get very lost in the weeds, and we do, with our work, and we could be blindsided. But then when you look up, you're like, wait, everything has changed, and now we're no longer relevant. And so this keeps us on I would say the front edge, the bleeding edge of what's actually happening. So every single day, at minimum, that's what we're doing. And then me, just personally, I'm just constantly seeking out. Like, that's just, it's innate. I am always seeking what is the best or the newest or anything, and trying to test something out.
No, I totally agree, because you could be doing some sort of process, but the way technology is evolving, making things more efficient and all of that spending that time to find a product that makes you 10% more efficient, maybe even 20, 30%, will be worth it in the long term.
Yeah.
And so spending that time, whether or not you find a product or not, doing that over long periods of time, consistently getting the whole team bought in, is super impactful. I know that I use X as my main way to source products and hear about the trending things and news and in technology or any other way. What other resources do you use to stay on top of trends?
I would say the biggest ones are Product Hunt, TechCrunch, Social Media Today, and then more specifically like Social Media Examiner. Those are the big, I would say. There's also a newsletter I would suggest for people to check out. It's called Retail Brew and Morning Brew. Those are like top notch. It's like the Wall Street Journal, but just only focused on like tech and actually what's actually happening in the world of that marketing standpoint right now.
Those are some great resources. Let's dive back into kind of the fashion world and a little bit more about your business here. So when you're working with fashion companies and fashion brands, and someone that's listening is interested in starting their own brand, how would they go about starting, and what do they need to think about?
I think they need to think about what is it that they're going to offer to the marketplace. I would always say too, like, go prove it before you actually go and spend the time and effort into figuring out manufacturing or how you should buy the products or anything. Prove that people actually want it. Validate.
How do they go about doing that?
I think so you can create like some kind of mock-up of like whether you're designing something like a boutique or you're going to sell something like clothes like that, or if you're going to mock up like a hoodie or a sweatshirt. Content creation is the best way. And so you can draw something up and get interest. And interest to me doesn't mean just likes and comments and shares, which I think is part of it, but also, hey guys, I'm creating a hoodie. This is specifically for, like, so I grew up in Kansas. So like, let's just say I created a streetwear brand for the Chiefs. That's very, very cool. It's very specific or whatever. Is anybody interested in this? And creating content to showcase the product. And if anybody gives me an actual, right? I just want them to put down a deposit, right? Give me $5. It's going to be $35. And you're just kind of pre-authorizing the fact that when I sell this thing, you'll buy it. But give me something. I need monetary like validation that this product is something that you actually want. And so I just need to prove it. I don't care about making any money. I just want to prove that somebody will buy it.
Pay something for it, and that validates way different than just a like or a comment.
Yep. Saying you're going to do it is one thing. Money must be involved. There must be an exchange. Nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Makes sense. And then you work with all different fashion brands, streetwear. Can you kind of list off or the types of clients you work with in the clothing branding industry?
Yeah. It really kind of apparel, accessories kind of fall in that too, like jewelry or anything within that space. But mostly 99.9% of the time it's apparel. But that's a private label. It's a streetwear brand. It's a boutique. It's anybody who wanted to start their own like line of clothing. Really anything that you can wear apparel wise that we have worked with in some way, shape, or form.
Makes sense. And maybe it's just me, but when I think of a marketing agency and you're helping companies that have less than $1 million in revenue, how do they pay for your services? And how do you overcome that obstacle of they got to pay for the services and what it is?
Yeah, so it's a one-time that they have. Right now, the program is 12 months. It will likely switch to 6 months, not because of anything other than 6 months puts an actual constraint on the fact that you need to go and actually make something happen. 12 months, it kind of elongates it. But once you're in it. Right now, with this particular model, it's once you pay a flat rate, you're in from it. And it's significantly more affordable than if you paid us as a monthly managed service each month. So that's part of it. But, I mean, we got people in college who join, and it's a stretch. We got people who are in their 30s and 40s, and it's a stretch for them. And we got people who just pay, no questions asked. But it's one of those things where, like, if we do a good enough job of painting the picture, that people will find a way to get the revenue. Now, there's a couple of countries in the world that we aren't able to serve, and we let them have free content, and so we aren't able to serve them. The vast majority of people, and we're in 68, 69 different countries right now, everywhere from China to North America, South America, all over Europe. Most of those countries have the ability, the means. They have a family member or a friend or a full-time job or something they can do because this is their chance, their opportunity to make their dreams happen. And so if you're motivated enough, you'll find a way to pay for it.
And it's an investment. Mm-hmm. And if you, like you said, if you execute and you do your strategies, that investment will pay off hand over fist.
Yeah. We also have, just more so for peace of mind, we always say in the 12-month period, if you haven't made back your initial investment, right, in gross revenue, then we'll just refund it. So it's also a no-brainer for them on that end. It's like there's no risk. Like if you actually put in the work, and we put parameters around that, like you actually have to do the work. But if you actually do that work, you should see a return. And if you don't in 12 months, if you can't make that money, then we'll refund you.
Just curious, I didn't know you work with so many different, clothing brands, different countries. What % of your business is not US based?
Good question. I would say 40%, probably 60% in the US, 40% everywhere
Pretty
else.
significant.
Yeah.
And growing this business, and you've been at it for 8 years, you kind of did a little pivot to exclusively focus on clothing brands about 3 years ago. What has been the biggest challenge in growing this, and then how have you overcome that?
I think the biggest challenge is continue to be relevant in the marketplace when people try to take your ideas. And, that's the thing is we're very public with our stuff. Our program is proprietary, but the way we teach is like on YouTube or any our podcast, like we give away a lot of our information. And so it's helping people understand that we are legitimate and there's other people that are copying us. So I think it's always staying a step or 2 steps or 3 steps ahead. And then just making sure that we're continuing to add value to them and hire the right people. Those are the constant challenges with it. But I think we're in the stage now where we've already proven the product can be sold. Now we need to make it the best product in the world. Right now I feel like it's the most comprehensive, and I would say it is one of the best programs in the world, probably 1 or 2. It could probably arguably be number 1 in the world. But I don't want it to even be close enough, right? Again, kind of going back to my Patty Mahomes thing here, right? Like whether you are a huge Tom Brady fan or not, like I'll be, GOAT status here. But at the end of your career, at the end of this, the cycle of what's going on in the program, there should be no question about comparison. It's like, this is the best. And this is who this serves. Like, even if you didn't necessarily care for the way that we approach things, you're just like, look, I have to buy the best because I believe in quality. That's where we need to be.
That's amazing. And I think that's a worthwhile goal to reach for there. And with your determination, I believe you'll get there.
Thanks.
So speaking about staying 1 or 2 steps ahead, what are some exciting initiatives or projects you have on the horizon that you could share with us?
Yeah, one thing that we're talking about is, so we have a community aspect, but how do we enhance that community aspect? Meaning, okay, so we've done a bunch of stuff online. What can we bring in offline? Are people going to come to Dallas Market? Should we do a meetup in Las Vegas? Should we, like different pods around the world? If people are in Europe and want to come to the United States or they wanted to do something, like what would we do if we hosted an in-person type of event? So I think that's part of it. Little meetups. I don't know. Eventually maybe we'll do like a conference or something. But I think right now it's more of a, hey, look, we're in the same program. Like, I know this person. I've been talking to him for 6 months. Like, would love to do an annual meetup where there's all of our members and maybe there's 50 or 75 people who end up meeting up. We all go out to dinner or something. I think that's exciting. Bringing online to offline is very, very powerful. I mean, we were talking about this beforehand, right? It's the human interaction is needed, right? We're innate beings that are meant to interact with other people. And so we do that with social, and I love social. But if we can bring it in person, it just deepens that relationship. You really feel like you get to know somebody. We had our first member actually come to town. He's a very successful, like, medical professional, like doctor, consultant, I guess. And he came in, drove to downtown McKinney, took my business partner and I out to lunch, or I guess it was lunch, and was just saying how thankful he is of the program and just so great to meet us, and came by our office and stuff. And so extremely cool. So I think the in-person, and then just continuing to add spreadsheets and tangibles. And again, I'm trying to shorten the gap between success, right? Which is, all right, you join the program day 1. In 30 days, if you do these things, you'll make your first $5,000 or $10,000. I want to shorten that time frame. And so we're trying to figure out step by step exactly what people need to do, the framework to see success faster. And so those are the biggest things that we're working on right now.
And you just mentioned another individual, a medical professional, and you mentioned a few other clients who have full-time jobs and are doing this on the side. So what is a time commitment you're asking for? So someone that's listening is like, yeah, but I don't know if I have the time. What would you say to them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I tell them, like, yeah, we make the time, but 10 to 15 hours a week is really what we need. I need you to spend 10 to 15 hours a week on the marketing of the business. And it's not that you won't be successful if you don't, but that's kind of that's the median mark of, like, to be successful. They're hitting that 10 to 15 hours a week. And when you do that, you give yourself a chance of success, really succeeding here.
Guys, that's 2 to 3 hours a day. You can put a bunch of that on the weekend, and then you do some maintenance activities during the week. Mm-hmm. That is doable. What a great program, and to help so many people that want to pursue their passion and their interest there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to end with some kind of more personal questions, as well as have a little creative exercise at the end to test your branding knowledge and fashion industry.
Okay.
So it will be a good time. So our mutual connection, how I got introduced to you, mentioned you run on a very kind of precise schedule.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about what that is, and kind of more about why you have that and how it helps you?
Yeah. Well, juggling both home and business is difficult.
And home, you have a family and 2 little girls, you said?
Yeah, 2 little girls. Right now we have 3 chickens. We just lost 2 chickens, sadly, and a big polar dog. It's a Great Pyrenees. So, yeah, a lot going on. And I would say that, again, right, entrepreneurship is lonely, and then a good percentage of people who own businesses who don't take care of and put their family first end up in divorce. And so I don't want that at all. Not for my kids, not for my family, nothing. And so it's making sure that whenever I'm at home, and I'm really focused on that. And the times that they're asleep, or the times that my wife falls asleep, or whatever it is, that's when I can work on the business. And I think that's the biggest thing. But timing here is so precious. I care more about that more than ever now. I'm sure just because it's relevant to me, and I'm sure just because you've listened to Alex Ramosi, it's right. He would give up all the money in the world, and when he's 55 to be 35 again, or whatever, right? That's an example. And so we can't get this time back. Very intentional with that. So I think the timing of things, in blocking out time specifically and saying no to a lot of stuff, is very, very important. I also think, counter to that, I think saying yes to a lot of things in the beginning makes way more sense. But afterwards, I think saying no is the better thing to do.
And that will come naturally. I'm sure you'll start to realize that you have lots of opportunity and high value work where saying no to certain things is because your opportunity cost of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then kind of continuing on this, for the audience looking to boost their well-being, what's your go-to life hack or daily ritual that keeps you on top of your game?
I would say there's a couple of them. One of them, honestly, I'm off of it right now. It's been like a week or so because we went to my friends. I had 2 friends running the Olympic trials, and so we went to Orlando and then got into Disney World. And so it's difficult when I travel, but I think the biggest thing is one that I've stayed on to is just reading. Right, not all readers are leaders, but every single leader is a reader.
Can you repeat that again? That is wonderful. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. So not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And so reading is something that I've taken up, but journaling is the biggest thing. So I have, I track everywhere that we travel. One of my big goals in my affirmations and the way that I talk about myself and our family and everything is I want to travel. I want to serve entrepreneurs, and reading those every single day of the reason why I'm doing these things helps me stay motivated. But also, I think the biggest thing is journaling, just taking the ideas. I'm grateful for these things. My faith plays a huge part in my life and the way that I would say approach things, and staying grounded with that. I remember driving home when I quit my job. It was 2015, like September 3rd, 2015. Driving home, and I was just praying because I said, I know I'm going to make a lot of money. And at this time, I had $2,000 in my business banking account, so there was not a lot of money. But I said, I know I'm going to make a lot of money, and maybe that's still happening or whatever else. It didn't matter, but I just wanted to stay grounded with where I'm at right now. Nothing else matters. At the end of my deathbed or anything like that, I would much rather be somebody who served somebody, who let I would say, my kids were proud of me, my wife was proud of me. Those types of situations, they matter more. And I don't want money to jade those things. And I think staying grounded with journaling and with reading, and again, for me, it's more of my faith. I think those things help me stay grounded and stay disciplined to do the other things that I'm allowed to do and have fun in certain areas later on and see, quote unquote, success from the outside.
kind of see the bigger picture too. You can kind of get lost in the weeds and not see the forest from the trees. And that's important, like you said, to focus on that every day to see the bigger picture.
Yeah. That's
wonderful. What is something you have eliminated from your life that's made the biggest impact?
Eliminated from my life. The first thing that comes to mind is, I don't think it's specific to this, but in 2006, I was playing football, and we during the summer we'd do like conditioning camps, and we drank a lot of Mountain Dew. We played a bunch of Halo, everything like that, and just show up to conditioning camp like out of shape, cramps, everything. And my coach said something to me. He's like, "If you want to be great, you need to cut out this." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Great athletes are not just using their talent, right? They're living up to potential, and they put in the work for the potential, and the outcomes of what you're doing right now are not going to transpire to be what you want to be." He's like, "You have talent, but drinking all this Mountain Dew and spending all the time, playing these games and not doing, it's nothing against Halo or drinking Mountain Dew, but it just helped me realize that this was a crutch that I had." And in the moment that you realize that you're addicted or you have something as a crutch, which could be anything, could be coffee, whatever, cutting out Mountain Dew, and I still have to this day, I've never drank pop since 2006. We call it pop in Kansas, whatever. Soda, Coke, whatever you want to call it, since 2006. And so what it allowed me to do is say, I do have an addictive personality, and I can use it for good or for bad. And so when I cut out the Mountain Dew, it just proved to me, I'm like, I can do stuff. I can do hard things. And so it's allowed me to eliminate a lot of other things in my life, right? Cutting out social media for a certain part, which sounds crazy as somebody who works in social media, but I go there to make money for clients and to help them grow, not for me to consume just to consume. And so I think that's a big part of it, it allowed me to say, okay, I can do these things. So cutting out Mountain Dew during my freshman, sophomore year in high school is what actually, I think, has eliminated something that caused a trigger to really change in my life.
And the Mountain Dew is symbolic.
Yes.
For this, I can accomplish things and be intentional about what I put in my body or what I set my mind to, and I can achieve it, and I can focus my quote-unquote addiction personality towards positive things in my life.
Absolutely.
What's an investment you made in yourself and how it has impacted you?
100%. There's a course. It was called Earn 1K. Biggest investment I ever made at the time. It was $1,500. And to give context, I think at the time, like my monthly salary may have been like $1,500. So it's like
significant.
It was a lot. I remember going to talk to my girlfriend, fiance at the time or whatever, and it was like, it was late at night because I was doing it. And I was like, I was staying at her parents' house. I just moved here. Her parents let me stay at her house till I figured out how to, do anything here. So I went in there and I'm like, hey, I've been following this guy for a long time, which ironically, I picked up his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. 100% recommend this book. It sounds very gimmicky. It's not. It's very practical. But I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It was when I flew from Lawrence down to Dallas, and I found it at Barnes & Noble. I just looked through a bunch of books, found it, and then just started reading, doing some automatic investing, it changed trajectory for things. But then he came out with a course called Earn 1K. It's like, prove that you can make $1,000 a month. It's like, okay, this would be the start of an actual business here. Because I've always had companies and businesses that I've started, but I've went more the corporate route because I was like, well, this is what everybody tells you to do. Go get this corporate job. Go do these things. Like you'll enjoy this more. Like you'll make more money. And for a good period of time, they were dang right. Like that's for sure. But this course was like Earn 1K. It was $1,500, and I paid it all up front. Basically drained everything and said, I'm not going to go in debt for it, but I will find a way, scrape together things. I bought that course, and that course has transpired into so many different things. I took not knowing anything to getting my first customers in Dallas to basically catapulting the start of the company as like a social media management thing, and then it turned into what the company is today. So without that course, I don't think the company exists, or at least in the way that it does now, or even sooner. So 100%, the course isn't even available anymore, but he does have a bunch of other stuff. But 100% investing in a course completely changed the trajectory for my professional career.
And your personal career because of your personal life, because of the business and how that impacts your life there. And I know Warren Buffett says the best investment you can make is in yourself. And so that compounds tremendously. All right. So for the last couple minutes here, the creative part of this. So I'm going to provide you with a well-known brand, not in the fashion industry.
Okay.
And then a fashion company. And your job is to create some sort of fashion product-ish and then a marketing campaign for them.
Okay. Goodness.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Lego and Lululemon.
Okay. So I'm taking Lego and Lululemon to make some type of apparel to sell this. And what's the plan? Keep it.
Exactly. What's the marketing campaign there?
Okay. So I think we go back old school. I think retro is really in right now. So I'm going to get like one of the very first Legos, and I want to target like an older demographic of people. I want to go after like whenever Lego started. So I'm going to make it up and say 1970. So I'm going to go find original Legos. I'm going to take pictures of those, and then I'm going to use something and create it as like a more of a nostalgic feel. I'm going to play on emotion here, and I'm going to say, okay, this is like basically your childhood or whatever. And so we'll see. I think there's two ways we can go about this, but most of the time I'm going to look at this as like this is a shirt you would wear on the weekend, and it's only people that were born in the 1970s, rather 40-ish years old, who would actually understand, or grew up in the 70s and 80s who would actually understand. And so this shirt would be iconic. I would also do like a limited edition of it. And so I'm going to use really great high quality material. I'm going to use Lululemon's, patented way that they create different fibers. So it'll be a super nice shirt that way. I'm not going to do a bunch of wickening. Meaning
What's wickening?
Wickening is just like the ability for it to like, if it helps if you're like sweating, or if you're working out, like it makes it a little bit easier for you to dry off or like not like chafe. So I'm not really going to use that material, but I am going to use high quality material that is lightweight, but looks like it's super high quality. So it's going to be a $45, $50 t-shirt. It's going to be higher. But I'm also going to do a limited run. I don't know how many of them I will do. Probably 1,000, couple thousand at that point of just one style, and it'll probably just be a black t-shirt. But the marketing campaign around it will be very simple. I'm going to find a bunch of people who are influential at that time. I'm going to use influencer marketing to take and go after those people. So everybody who was in the 70s or so that is still around today that were influential, I want them to start posting content around it. I don't really want to run any ads. I just want to get that in front of the hands of people who have, a decent amount of following. And then I think the best place to put them on at that point is to find out where that audience is actually at. Maybe it is a podcast. Maybe it's on ESPN. Maybe it's somewhere else like that. But because it's Lululemon, it's going to be in the retail location, so that's fine. I think we'll get some people there. It's probably not going to be the demo. We'll probably have to have the wives that find out about these things and then tell the husbands about it, because I assume at this point we're just going to mostly be focused on going after the 40-year-old guy. And then, like I said, the influencer, I'm really just trying to hit on who was popular during this time, and then have them do skits or reels or TikToks talking about nostalgic stuff and doing nostalgic things, playing with Legos, and then literally just pulling out the shirt and telling them, like, limited edition, it's $45, $50, like, get on the wait list. And so
you probably raise the price on that, honestly. Lululemon Lego limited edition. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. And then what, you got a name for this?
I don't know. The Lego one.
The Lego one.
Yeah.
There it is. That's pretty great. All right. And then this one is, by the way, super creative. I like that avenue there. The little retro, going back with it, and kind of fine tuning the audience and having that offering like you talked about, specialized. This one is create an online marketing strategy for the following fictional clothing brand.
Okay.
It is called Lumina Threads, and it's a futuristic fashion brand that specializes in sleek, high-tech apparel infused with bioluminescent elements, creating garments that light up at night.
Very cool. I have no idea where you got that question, but that's pretty dope.
ChatGPT.
There we go. So, I mean, this is pretty simple here. I'm going after an audience who understands what blockchain is and also understands what crypto is. And so I would look at this and tie this to what's NFT or non-fungible token. So the people who are listening to the podcast who have no clue what that is, think of NFTs or like.
By now, everyone knows what an NFT is.
That's true.
That's ship is sale, and you better have caught up with it.
Yes. But they would purchase through, they can purchase through regular payments, traditional payments, but they could use Bitcoin. They could use anything else. But I'm going after that audience. That's who I'm going after. And the marketing campaign would be very simple, right? I'm going to create a Discord. I'm going to create an actual community around this. I'm going to build up hype. And I'm going to let them get involved and help with the designs. I would love to create an actual site that allows them to submit their own ideas where we can all vote on the designs that come up. And
community involvement. That is neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then they'll vote. And then from those, we'll also do a percentage or deal. So like if they buy an NFT, we'll mint something, which will allow them to get the t-shirt, and then they can promote it. So basically they become an affiliate from it as well. So we'll get the community to invite more and more people. And at that point, it's more of we'll continue to help this thing grow. But every single person who helps sell one will give 30-40% of the actual revenue back in like credits. And I think that will help drive a lot of this. But it will be more community driven. It will be very small, very, very like niche at the time. And then we can go more traditional route. Then we can do Instagram. Then we can do Facebook and whatever else. But I think initially, I'm going to find these people. I'm going to find a couple of people who are influential on X. I'm going to help like bring them over to a Discord channel, have them run it, create a community manager, and then spend the next 3 to 6 weeks just building this thing up.
I love that. That is great and creative. The Web3 route, that's the future for Illumina Threads there.
There we go.
Great. Well, anything else you want to speak with the audience about that we haven't covered? We've covered a lot, but the floor is yours.
I think the one thing I want to say is, that it's... Look, it's fun, and it's been a pleasure that I have been the one who's been able to do the actual interview. But I think behind that is really just an amazing, like, supportive spouse and an amazing business partner who complements, and an amazing team. And then again, like I said, I think my faith has a huge part of this as well. But a lot of times people think that people are quote unquote overnight successes, and it's really a 10-year journey. But also, without the correct support system, I truly believe, I think it's what is the Millionaire Next Door? What did he say? Like most of the millionaires, they do, they drive these types of cars, they do these types of things, but really they are married and they have a certain like level of just relationship with that spouse. Those are what millionaires look like. Those are what people who are successful look like. And so what I'm saying from that is that there have been a path that I have been privileged to go down, where I have an amazing group of people who have supported to help me do things that have been really, really cool. So it's fun that I get to do the podcast, but without my wife or my business partner, our employees, without my family, like all of those things, none of this is even remotely there, nor is it nearly as important. I think chasing that, and I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is they go and chase that shiny object. And then, what is the quote? It's like, once you've tasted, 1,000 crab dinners, it tastes like soap. Meaning, like, once you've done this thing and you've made your money and you've got your roses and whatever else, if you have nobody to share it with, if you have no community, if you have no family to enjoy this with, it's weakened. So I just think all of those people, and I thank you for and for Brian for having me come on, and Brian for the introduction, because this is it was a privilege and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. That was a great and beautiful way to end this. And where can people find you online and get in contact with you?
Yeah, everything is BitBranding, so BitBranding. You can just find us on any social network. And then me personally is just Pearson Aaron J across everything as well, if they really wanted to connect with me personally. Just a bunch of pictures of my kids. I preface that in running. That's about it.
This has been a wonderful conversation, learned a lot, and pretty in-depth, so appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Man, that was wonderful, man. Thank you. Dude, absolutely. Yes. That is great. Some great pieces of content in there, most definitely.
Good.
Yeah. What'd you think of the questions? I mean, you've done a lot of these podcasts before.
Yeah, they're solid, man.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Appreciate
definitely I appreciate regularity with where the conversation goes, but I also like the uniqueness of conversations and how you brought up certain questions. So, it just I can tell this wasn't your first interview for sure.
Good. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun, and man, definitely noticing themes from entrepreneurs, which I'm excited to kind of dive into and explore, and then launch a social club. So if you're around next month, is hopefully gonna be the first event.
Okay,
Might be pushed to next. It would be great if you could attend and everything.
Where can I find out more, or how?
So I'm gonna be posting everything on Instagram for the podcast,
Okay.
and then I'm doing a pretty private social club launch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna just be people that I've met in the industry and going to these events and networking and doing that thing.
Cool.
So just trying to get ambitious high performers together to just have fun, create relationships, and live life, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can help with you, or?
That, I mean, if you know anyone else that would be interested, obviously you're connected and you do things, and you've been in Dallas for quite a while. So yeah, that's probably that.
Okay. Yeah, let me think. I want to get somebody good for you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. What about myself? Anything that I can help out in your world? And obviously I'll give you this content and whatever else you want to do.
Oh yeah, I'll share it wherever. I'll share it
Yeah.
everywhere.
Great stuff.
I am sure that there at some point there will be, but
Yeah, especially with that community you're looking to build as well. And
I was gonna say there may be some insight and at least pick your brain on how do you make something like that work, because yours is a little bit different, but also it involves very something similar. Like ours is only apparel space, but yeah, is it just grabbing lunch? Yours is it's gonna sound like it's a little bit more structured with like this is like planned out, right?
Yes.
Versus ours is like we're gonna
Come here,
everybody
have fun,
come here, everybody
Meet
grab
people.
some food.
yeah, well, there's logistics that go into everything. That's what I'm realizing. So I'll be figuring that out from the deep end, just diving right in. But it's exciting. Yeah, dude, great meeting you. Man.
Very nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Look forward to continuing the conversations and all that. And
We got each other's numbers, so
yes,
don't be a stranger. If you're ever up in the far McKinney or
Yeah.
Allen area, just let me know.
okay, I'll holler at you for sure. And then if I there's a couple of fashion brands that I've put on my database for people to reach out to. So we'll definitely